Hey, Andre, thanks for joining today. It's great to have you on. Been looking forward to this call for a while. I think you and I originally met maybe, I don't know, a year ago, 18 months ago, when you were working at the Marlins, right?
Yeah, on LinkedIn. You comment on a lot of my posts. I was like, who's this Robert guy? So it's been great to connect with you through LinkedIn.
That's right. I get that a lot. Hey, I saw you comment on my post. I get that all the time.
Yep.
Nice, man. Well, I think for the agenda today, would love to have you obviously introduce yourself, your experience working in pro sports. If you go to your LinkedIn page, Andre, you've had a nice long career in pro sports. You've worked at a couple great organizations, so I'd love to learn a bit more about that, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me, Robert. So I'm the co-founder of Four Leaf Marketing and Consulting. It's a marketing consulting company my wife and I started up over couple months ago now. And we focus on digital marketing strategy, go-to-market strategy. We have corporate clients, and then also with my background in sports, we have clients in the sports industry as well. So on the sports side, we'll focus more on like B2B sales, B2B marketing, consulting, and then on digital marketing side, social media, website build out, paid per click advertising, really all the things that encompass your digital marketing strategy and having a professional that can execute that for you. But as you touched on, I've been blessed to have a really great career within sports. 17 seasons in Major League Baseball, also some time in college athletics at Arizona State University. So Arizona Diamondbacks, Houston Astros, Miami Marlins, most recently, all within ticket sales.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked like basically right out of college, you went to school in Arizona and you started working for the Diamondbacks right after that.
Yep. Yeah, I got hired in what we call in sports inside sales. So that's like your
Yeah.
entry level ticket sales department. I spent 5 seasons with Arizona Diamondbacks. It was really a blessing because, like you said, I grew up in Phoenix. I went to school at Arizona State to get to stay there post college and get to work for the baseball team. I grew up watching and going to a lot of games. It was really cool for me. And then also the leadership team that we had in place there, it was great. And it really got me set on the right foot to build a career within sports.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know about working and talking with a lot of folks in pro sports and sales specifically. Some organizations have really strong sales onboarding programs. How was your onboarding and sales training with that initial organization?
It was great. We had 2 in-depth weeks of sales training where we didn't really even make many phone calls. It was,
Mm.
learning about the team, the product we'd be selling, a lot of practicing and role playing. I assume that's what everyone does, but what I've been
Mm.
told is that people that hire people from out of sports, like we give really good sales training to start out. I thought everyone did that, but I realized, a lot of people maybe outside of sports, it's maybe a day or a couple days and they throw you on the phones. But I was blessed, and that's something I've carried with me throughout my career. That training, that onboarding specifically is super important.
Yeah. Now you stuck with MLB throughout your career. Is that just because you have a passion for MLB over other sports, or is that just because once you got into MLB you couldn't get out?
I do have a passion for it, so it was always my goal to stay within Major League Baseball because baseball is my passion. I grew up playing it. I
Mhm.
watch games still on MLB TV right now. I watch MLB Network all the time. So for me, like there's that extra passion. I don't think you necessarily have to be a baseball fan or a sports fan to do well within sports sales. But for me, like, it was always, if I could be in Major League Baseball, that's great. And it just so happened the leaders I went to go work for and the opportunities that presented themselves were within baseball. So I was blessed to always have my career within Major League Baseball, which is my favorite sport.
Okay, might be the toughest question of the interview here. Okay, you've got the Diamondbacks, the Astros, Marlins. Who's your favorite?
They all have a very special place in my heart. I think the Diamondbacks, that's really special because I grew up there. It's where I got my career started. It's where my wife and I met.
Okay,
So because of that, I'm going to say, yeah, Arizona Diamondbacks.
that's probably the best answer you could have given. You met your wife. You and now you and I know each other a little bit. Yeah, you and your wife worked together and met at the Diamondbacks, and she was also in sales. Is that right?
Yeah, so she was in
Okay.
ticket sales as well. My last year there, she
Okay.
had moved from Florida. That was a big part of why we wanted to come down here to South Florida, in addition to the role and the opportunity. This is where she's originally from, but she went to Florida State. When she graduated, she took a job with Arizona Diamondbacks, and that's where we met.
Gotcha. And now you're back in Florida.
Yep. Yeah,
You're
we
back.
live in Miami.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that you would now be in business with your wife running a sports consulting business?
We had talked about it over the years, but
Okay.
no, it's really cool how it all kind of came about. Like her background's in digital marketing, mine's been in sales. So you kind of take the two, like, pair marketing with sales and, being able to take that to our clients. And we work really well. We're literally polar opposites of each other in
Yeah.
almost every way possible. So we're kind of the perfect mix as a couple. And I think that helps also as a business partner too. The things I'm not good at, she's great at. The things that maybe she doesn't have the patience for, I can, be a little more thoughtful and strategic with it. But yeah, we balance each other out really well.
Great. Tell me, after being in pro sports as long as you have, now at the latter end of your career, having an executive position, the vice president of, correct me if I got it wrong, ticket sales, right? And
Ticket
is
sales
it
and
ticket
service, yeah.
service? Yeah. What was when what was a highlight in your career? I guess let's focus just on the Marlins there. What was the highlight of running a team and running the ticketing organization at the Marlins?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool because I got there January 2020.
Okay.
So,
Ooh,
everything's rocking, yeah, everything's rocking
yeah.
and rolling. Then you step into the pandemic. And so, I was really just starting to get my feet wet and really understand the market and, get to know, my staff, the other leaders within the organization. And then we, shut down and we go remote for, a period of time. And
Mm,
so what I think I'm most proud of is, building the staff back up and being able to recruit new people to come on as we continue to grow, team getting into the playoffs in 2023 and seeing
mm,
the attendance and the numbers grow year over year. Still a long way to go when I left, but to see the growth in the 4 year period that I was there. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is there were people that were either, not with the organization when I first started or in maybe individual contributor like sales type roles that eventually moved on to become managers and then directors and senior directors. So to see that growth and the development underneath me, that's something I've always been passionate about. And a big part of why I want to get into leadership is develop that next generation of leaders. So to see people that, got to take steps in their career and now they're set up well to continue to excel, whether it's there or, eventually at another team or organization, just laying that groundwork so that, those people can continue to develop and then hopefully they're paying it forward to that next generation that's coming after them as
yeah.
well.
That's great. And now as a consultant, right? You're doing a lot of coaching, you're giving a lot of advice, you're doing a lot of mentoring and things like that. So the connection between being executive at the Marlins and what you're now doing is really strong. But going back to the Marlins, real quick from a business perspective, right? Running a ticketing department, right? Couple questions. One, how many direct reports did you have?
On the staff, there was 40 plus on the staff,
Okay.
and then underneath me, there were managers and directors that have staffs underneath them.
Yeah. Now, on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis, when you think about the business, right? What were some of the major challenges? Obviously, you're always focused on ticket sales and driving revenue, but from an innovation perspective, technology perspective, some of the other things that are now available to us, like AI, what were some of the biggest challenges you had as a leader running this ticketing organization?
Yeah, I think with any technology, it's wrapping your head around it. And the thing within sports, and this isn't just, in Miami, it's across all of sports. Like we're typically a few years behind, the tech, the SaaS world, like all these non-sports
Hmm.
corporations. They
Okay.
invest more resources into it, have a little more intel. So we kind of hear third party or through once they've, worked out the kinks, like, hey, here's the technology you should use in sports. So I think the challenge is always, how quickly can we wrap our heads around it, understand the use case for what we do within sports, and then train and teach and coach. I think any implementation is going to take time. And, it takes a lot of patience and follow through and consistency. So that's always the biggest challenge when you're onboarding a new technology or bringing on a new vendor is the execution and implementation of it, but then also maximizing all the features and functions of it. That's always a challenge.
Mhm. Now, I know there's a direct correlation between fan experience and ticket sales, right? If you're able to create a premium product and a premium experience to get people to come to the stadium, have a great experience. It's going to help with season ticket sales. It's going to help with retention. It's going to help with some of those things. So how is ticketing involved with creating that amazing fan experience?
Yeah, that's a conversation that, is had at the executive level. And on the sales side, we only talk about the experience because that's all we can
Mhm.
really control. We can't control how well
Okay.
the team's going to do, the win-loss record, things like that. So we really lean in on. So like if you're talking to a consumer and they're like, well, I want to see you all win more. It's like, well, that's out of our control, but let's focus on what we can control. And that's, you having a great time with your friends and family when you come out to games, or spending time with your coworkers, or getting FaceTime with your clients or prospective clients that you're looking to do business with. Like those are the things we can guarantee and we control that. And that's where if you focus on the experience in your sales process and how do you provide a great experience, that's where you get them the first time as a customer, but then also how you retain them long term.
Gotcha. Like what would be an example? What are one of the things that you can control on the ticketing side that you can really control and handhold that fan experience? You know, especially as a consumer, right? I've gone to a couple games before. I went to the Nuggets playoff game recently with my wife. Had a great time. And trying to connect the dots, right? How can a sales professional in sports help create a unique experience?
Yep. And I think in sports, we have so many unique experiences that we probably take for granted that the casual fan, they're going to be through the moon about. So, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
in baseball, they take batting practice every game. Most teams have batting practice passes that they could bring a client down into the field. And sometimes, like, the players will come over and take pictures, sign autographs for the kids, things like that. So, imagine that experience that
Yeah.
you get invited by your account manager, your ticket sales consultant, and they get to bring you down before the game. And you can, so let's say from a business standpoint, you bring one of your top clients with you, you bring a prospect with you, and you're down there on the field with them, giving them this once in a lifetime experience that they can't even really purchase sometimes. So there's
Yeah.
experiences like that, whether it's like going down on the field or, special meet and greets, or even something as little as like, all right, you're one of my clients. I know your birthday's on this game date, working with our caterer and surprising you in your seat with a cake and balloons and singing happy birthday, like little things like that go a long way.
Yeah.
And don't necessarily guarantee the person's going to buy, but they're always going to remember that experience.
Mm-hmm. Now you have an interesting perspective now because you're no longer working for directly for pro sports teams. You're now consulting for them and doing sales and training. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But now that your paycheck isn't directly from the Marlins anymore, any or the Diamondbacks, like how, or I guess I should say, where do you see the industry going? Where do you see the MLB product going? Like, what's the vision for the sport over the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, for MLB specifically, and I think they're doing a great job of this. Like, there's a lot of young talent who's coming in the industry. So I don't know how much of your audience is like big sports fans, but recently at the All-Star game, it highlighted a lot of the young talent that's coming up through the All-Star game, home run derby, and some things like that. So I think there's a big opportunity to start leaning more into that next generation of talented players that are going to engage younger fans and build a fan base from there. I think the biggest opportunity is what you talked about, the enhancements in technology, more access to more data. So similar like on the player side, how more players are using data to make themselves smarter, whether it's how they approach an at bat or how a pitcher works a certain hitter based on data. It's the same on the business side. What are the key indicators that show success? What are the products that sell well? What's the type right message to go to out to market with a certain demographic of fans? Like we have that data now, so it's one, taking it and understanding what's most important that's going to help us drive more sales. How do we then take that and implement it into our sales process and our strategy to help us work more efficiently and leverage technology, whether it is generative AI or chat GPT, things like that, to either increase the acumen of your sales team or just help them work more efficiently. And in some ways, you might even be able to, go with less people, but be more productive and be more nimble because you have technology that can offset that. I like to look on the other side of like, I don't want that to replace people. I want that to maybe take away from the administrative kind of busy work type stuff that we have people do and then
Yep.
position them on more high impact, higher revenue generating opportunities so that you are fully maximizing your staff and their efforts every single day.
Gotcha. I obviously follow you on LinkedIn. That sounds very similar to a lot of the stuff you're already talking about with your business and with some of the leaders you're working with. So let's transition into that a little bit. Tell me, like, from a, what are you focusing on? I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more now specifically. Who are you approaching? What challenges are you solving right now with Four Leaf, you and your wife? What kind of impacts are you making with the teams that you're working with?
Yeah, I'll touch on both sides. So I said there's the corporate side and then there's the sports side. I'll start on the corporate side. What's been really cool there, so my wife's background's in digital marketing, more like in the blue collar home services space, so roofing, construction, industries like that. And really what we focus on there is social media strategy. I think a lot of times people think social media is just like posting every now and again on LinkedIn or on your Instagram or Facebook, but like having a thought out strategy and process behind it. So building out a content calendar, what type of messaging are you doing? How are you engaging all people at all stages of the funnel? Some that are, maybe you're just trying to create awareness around, and then others that, a little further down and trying to convert to a meeting or a sale. And so having a strategic plan around that and helping companies with that. So what we're learning and what we're seeing is a lot of times people that are reaching out to us or clients that we work with, they're like a small business owner that maybe they've been doing it themselves, or maybe they have someone who's doing social media on top of other responsibilities, and this gives them the freedom and the bandwidth to focus on what they really need to and outsource that to us and really take a strategic approach to it to help them grow their business. So they don't have to do it themselves anymore while they have a million other priorities they could be working on to grow their business. So
Mhm.
that's one area that I think we could help. And it really resonates because, my wife, her father-in-law, or her father, my father-in-law, has a small business. And so, to be able to help companies like that either, it's blue collar people that maybe have no clue where to even start with social media, and that's an opportunity on the digital marketing side, or to take that
Mhm.
and offload that from them. That's big. On the sports side, I went into this thinking it was going to be more, I could support the B2B marketing efforts. And what
Mhm.
I mean by that is when I was in sales, a lot of times we were the B2B marketers, and there's no knock on like the marketing, you know, counterparts or colleagues, coworkers. They were more focused on the fan, the brand, more like B2C consumer type stuff. And B2B sales and marketing is still fairly new within sports. So what I really focus on the past few years is like, what do tech companies, what do SaaS companies do to focus on B2B marketing? And I thought, I could fill that void between knowing what it's like being the VP of sales and trying to create more awareness around your B2B products, drive more inbound leads to your sales team so that they're working more high quality opportunities versus, banging their head against the wall, just trying to get some action and get some things going.
Yeah.
And some have seen a fit and a need there. But what also they'd like is like, hey, we appreciate your experience actively selling B2B, but then also coaching B2B. And we want you to come in and work with our sales team as a consultant, as a trainer. So I can kind of mix the two where I could help with, working directly with their sales team and training them and coaching them, whether they're, very tenured and it's, more fine tuning some of their processes, or literally they're brand new and, laying the groundwork for someone who's just starting out in B2B sales, but then also looking at it from a full picture of, all right, it's not just the sales team, it's how do you market the product appropriately? How do you engage the right prospects with the right message so that when the salesperson reaches out, they're better informed?
Mhm.
Or your marketing messaging's triggering them to be like, oh, I want to reach out to that team to learn more about how my company could partner with them. So whether it's through testimonials you're sharing about current clients you work with, or like a video testimonial or
Mhm.
a case study of like, hey, we worked with this company, here were the challenges they were facing, here's how by our tickets or doing a group outing or buying a membership, they've been able to see X return from their investment. And when you share case studies like that, when you share information like that, it organically kind of plants the seed in a decision maker's head or a business person's head of like, oh, like we have that same challenge, or we could use them the same way. So it's really the sales function talking to the marketing function and working together to, hey, here's what we're doing on the sales side. here's what we're doing on the marketing side. Are we all aligned, and how can we best support that?
Yep. Yeah, I've been there many times where you've got the marketing team working on one thing, one project. They've got a plan, they've got a mission, they've got a content strategy, and then you've got all the sales reps kind of walking it down a different path, doing something completely
Yeah.
different, right?
Yep.
And as a guy who's also ran sales a couple times, that can sometimes pull your hair out a little bit. It can be pretty challenging
And
trying to figure.
I think for me, one of the lessons I learned is I didn't do a good enough job of telling that story of what we're doing on the sales side. So this isn't like, oh, marketing team had no clue what they're doing.
Yeah,
We're just gonna go. We're just gonna,
yeah,
be proactive, get out and market and start selling. But our marketing team, our business strategy and analytics team could have better informed us of like, hey, it's great you're doing all that effort, but like maybe you should focus your efforts here because here's what the data is telling us. And if we had
hmm
built that plan out together, I would definitely see some opportunities for us to improve our results.
yeah. That's right. I'm sympathetic to that because as a sales professional, sometimes it's easy just to wake up in the morning and just need to hit the numbers, make the phone calls, reach out to the
Yep.
prospects, follow up on leads, and sometimes you need to slow down to go faster.
Yeah. Yeah, or just
Right.
simplify it. Like, because,
Yeah.
you just send your sales team out, one person's over there, one person's doing that, and like everyone's running fast, but like all in different directions. So if you could just, all right, hey, let's focus and lock in on these 100 accounts, these 250 accounts. Like this is our
Mhm.
target. We're going to give them all the love, the attention. Sales is going to get involved. Marketing is going to involve. We're going to get our executives involved. Like that's way better of a strategy than, hey, everyone just hit as many people as you can and knock on as many doors as possible. I guess people aren't really
Yep.
knocking on doors anymore, but
Yep.
digitally, I guess you could say, and try and get
Mhm.
in touch with people.
Yep. Um, do you see, what are, when you think about the work you're doing, like what's most exciting for you right now? Is it helping people grow? Is it training people? Is it mentoring? Is it, what is like the thing that's most exciting right now about running this consulting business of yours?
Yeah, I enjoyed all aspects of being, a
Mhm.
department leader and building out the strategy, recruiting the team, everything like that. But I think what gave me the most energy was, the strategy behind it and like really thinking through what's not our only our plan today, but where do we want to be 6, 12, 18 months from now? And so that's what you get to do from a more consultative role of, hey, here's where we're at today, and here's some quicker wins that we can find. But also, let's build this so that in the future you're set up well for success. So that's one piece. The other thing too is, I became a vice president for almost 5 years ago. So there's this generation, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
of younger leaders that are coming behind me that, I've had the opportunity to work with or mentor. Now they're just now stepping into senior director, vice president roles within sports. So you kind of get to play that mentor too and almost be like their eyes and ears of the future of like, hey, here's what you need to think about. Here's what you need to
Mhm.
look for that maybe you aren't thinking of already, and almost be like that mentor to them and to help them,
Yeah.
be set up for success as a first time vice president and learn from the
Yeah.
mistakes that I made and say, hey, if I could go back to 2020 and do this all over again, here's some things I would do different. And so
Mhm.
that's been really cool, just having that perspective now and seeing someone who's excited and green in the role, but getting that kind of help them and coach them along with, supporting whatever their services that we can provide for them, just being their eyes and ears of like, here's what the future looks like and here's what to prepare for.
Yeah, man, Andre, I've got a list that's pretty long about all the things I wish I knew, had the
Yeah.
training to do. People skills, emotional intelligence, all of those things are man. There's just not enough training around some of those aspects of being a leader that I wish I could have, would have, should have had. So that's
But
great.
I think too that it's like you almost have to go through it to have those
Yeah,
experiences. Like
true.
I don't know if it's the same for you. Maybe I'll ask you, but like I'm stubborn. So if someone
Mm,
told me when I was starting out, like, hey, you need to think about this, I'd be like, I got it. Like I'm
I got
very
it.
independent and want to do it myself. So I don't know if you're the
Yeah,
same way, but like that's been probably a bigger unlock for me and understanding for me is like, all right, the coachability, the finding a mentor and taking advice from them. Like that's something as I transition to this next stage within my career. There's other founders, there's other entrepreneurs out there that I want to learn from and I want to study. because this is new to me. Yes, I have experience in this field, and I know, the inner workings of some of the things that the people that I'm working with and I'm selling to, but there's a lot that I don't know, and I need to make sure that I'm open to learning and coaching as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're a lot similar than maybe we knew at the beginning of the phone call because man, talk about stubborn. Yeah, sometimes I can cut off my nose to spite my face, and that's just out of just thinking I'm right. So, but now at the ripe age of 41, yeah, I have learned a few things, and I try to do a lot of the stuff you're doing, Andre. Try to help out folks that are in the positions I was 5 or 10 years ago. So that's great, man. Anything, from a wrap up perspective, anything that you want to share about you, your business, give some words of wisdom to people who want to get in pro sports, anything like that?
I'll kick. I'll go to that second. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, you work with sports teams. Some of the questions you asked, like, what are you seeing out in the marketplace? What are you hearing from sports sales leaders that were like myself as to what the future looks like, and
Mhm.
things like that?
Great question. Yeah, there's a couple common themes across all organizations in terms of like what they care about from a fan and guest experience. So I'll rattle a couple of them off. One, some of the biggest operational challenges are around navigation and getting people to the game and reducing a lot of the stress around parking and traffic. There's a great quote I heard from another VP of sales. I think it was at the Jets. He said, "Robert, we don't own the parking, but it's our problem."
Yep.
That really, really resonated with me as well. And so I tell that to people all the time. I understand it, that even if you don't own it, you still got to find a way to create a good experience. So that's a big one. Also, data is key, right? In my world, it's one thing to sell a product and offer a service, but if you don't have the data around it, or you don't have something like that to give the client at the end of a major event or at the end of the season, your product is much more of a nice to have than a need to have. So that's been really eye opening as well. Um, what else? There's so much. One of the things I'm really excited about, Andre, is the amount of innovation that's taking place with the entertainment districts that are being built. The
Mm,
It's no longer about just going to a game. I just looked the other day at the new Royals Kansas City Royals stadium that's being built, and how it's built, where you've got this elevated area pier where almost just pedestrians can look down into the field and watch the game, and just making it feel like as a fan you can just reach down and touch a player from up above.
yep.
It's they're really trying to create an engaging, really highly engaging product and experience in pro sports. So that type of stuff, I think, there's, I've counted them. There's around 200 active stadiums, arenas, or districts being built right now around the world.
Wow.
Um, and every year, oh shoot, every month, I feel like I hear another headline about another one being built. So all that's going to do is drive innovation and kind of set the bar higher and higher and higher and higher. Kind of like SoFi did 5 years ago when they built that venue. SoFi is kind of the gold standard in terms of how you build a district here in the U.S., along with many
Yep.
others like OC Vibe and the Battery, and there's a ton of them. So those are the things that I'm seeing right now, that I'm excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to mention the Battery, that experience in Atlanta. They did a great job. You don't have to be a baseball fan. I happened to be a big Atlanta Braves fan growing up, because
Yeah.
my dad was in the Air Force. We moved a bunch. They're on TBS, so I always watched
Hmm.
them. But to get to see that
Yeah.
experience and the fan experience there, it was great. And like you said, like all these other venues are looking to replicate some like that and create that
Hmm.
experience. So you're attracting the casual fan too, and you can activate outside of just the game dates. But back to your question, like that's one thing I'm excited about too, is like as these new projects come up, um, they need to then backfill that and recoup their investment with sales. So for
Yeah.
me, a lot of times, if they're building out a premium space or if they're adding, like it's going to come from the business segment. So to be able to take what I'm learning myself, but then also best practices from each team. Like I talk to multiple directors or VPs of sales in a given week, and each conversation I take one or two things that I can then apply to
Mhm.
my consulting, my training, working with other teams. So, a year from now, imagine how many different leaders I've
Hmm.
talked to and what, advice I can offer, benchmarks I can provide. Like, that's what's exciting for me. I get to still impact the industry that, gave me so much and built a career for me and provided for me and my family, and then get to work with all these great people that, a lot of times now, like I'm working with friends or old coworkers.
Hmm.
And, we all kind of went our separate ways at one point because we went to build our careers, and now we can kind of come back together at this stage in our lives and like really help each other's businesses out. And
Yeah.
that's probably been the most fun part, because like when you're with a team, you're locked in, you're focused on your team. Obviously you have your friends and relationships within the industry, but like now getting a chance to take a step back and one, just reconnect, like, hey, how's your family
Hmm.
doing? I see you've had two
Yeah.
kids since we
Yeah.
worked together, how are they? But then
Hmm.
also, how can we work together? What have you learned the past 5 years since we worked together? Here's what I've learned, and how can we bring that together and help each other out? That's been really fun.
Yeah. That's fantastic, man. That is a great wrap up on an awesome career from beginning to end. Now it's all coming
Yeah,
full circle. All those people you
it
worked
really
with
is.
20 years ago, they're all coming back a second time. That's great, man.
Yeah,
Good for you,
yeah, it's a lot of
Andre,
fun.
and congrats to you and your wife and your family. I know you're pretty happy about where you're at right now.
Yeah, no, we're blessed right now. We have three little girls, so this provides a different lifestyle where we can, be spend more time with them. Like my
Mm.
office is at home, so fortunately they're not home right now. You would have seen one of them run through the door behind me right now and
Yeah.
interrupt our call. But it is really cool to kind of get to build this, and the plan is, hopefully this is something we could build for years to come. That
Yeah.
if they ever want to be a part of this as they get older, like this is, a legacy that we could pass down to them. So we'll see. My oldest said, "No, I don't want anything to do with it," but
Yeah.
she's only 8, so she doesn't know what she's
Yeah.
talking about right now. But no, we are really blessed, and
Yeah.
I've appreciated our relationship and the insights you provide on LinkedIn and things like that, and look forward to the two of us staying connected as well.
Yeah. Likewise. Well, thanks, Andre. I appreciate the time today, man. It was great to connect with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Robert.